record button. I think it's recording. Is it recording? Yes, it's recording. I'm so excited. Okay, I am so super excited. Ben can probably tell how excited I am. I know you guys can't see me on Facebook, but I'm actually on the screen. Oh, I got to adjust my camera. I'm actually on the screen. Um, right up there. Well, it's dark. Whatever. You guys don't need to see me. There we go. So I'm just so super excited. I mean, this is a phenomenal experience that we're going to have and that we have started with Les Brown, the one and only. I mean, he's incredible. I'm loving him. And so, Ben, you are my first guest from this group that we are hungry. And I have so many questions and so much going on in my head, but I actually was saying I don't want to know anything. I just want to do this really completely off the cuff. And I'm already intrigued. Just I had to stop you from telling me some stuff, and I'm like, tell me your story, buddy. Like I want to hear it.
All right. So yeah, my name is Ben Swicewood, and in Richmond, grew up in Richmond, Virginia, still in Richmond, Virginia. And my backstory would be grew up in a good home, made some bad choices, some bad decisions, found myself in jail, addicted to heroin, trying to figure out what happened in my life and what went wrong and what I need to do from here. And then fast forward to today, I am real estate agent, speaker, a coach and trainer. I have a family, wife, 2 children. Everything is great. And so that's the short version.
That is incredible. That is really incredible. To turn your life around. And now you're in this group. We're all people who want to become speakers, and you have a message that you want to put out there. And um, are you able to put that message into a short, kind of like 1 to 3 minute speech? Is that kind of what you're working on right now? Just a yes or no right now? Yes.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect. All right. So, and that little speech kind of conveys your message, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Perfect. So I do know you've told me this quote, and I absolutely love it. This is something you say, and I would quote you to say this. Do you want me to share it, or is this in your speech that you will say this?
Oh no, you can share it. Yeah.
I can share it. Okay, because you said so. Just a little bit of background for anybody who's watching. You shared. We share quotes of like that we have developed ourselves, and I know like over the years I have one quote that stuck with me, and it's like 20 years from Jim Rohn, and it's like I it just carries me through life. But I really like this quote because I think this is something you have come up with, a quote of your own, and I think this really can carry people through life as well. So here it is. Free your mind from the chains of limitations. I love this quote. So,
Mhm.
um, and I can see people carrying that through and changing their lives if they just even focus on that one quote. So I'm excited to hear what you have to say. Let's hear your message.
Sure. So I grew up in a good home. Like I said, I remember in the mornings when I was 6 or 7, I used to go with my dad to Dunkin' Donuts and sit there and eat my little coffee roll that I can remember. It was so good in the mornings. And I watched my dad back then. He was successful, worked for Motorola, top salesman. And I remember watching him interact with different people that he worked with and colleagues and friends. And I'm just sitting there observing all of this, as a little 6 or 7 year old. How many of you remember when you were like 6 or 7 and you had that experience where you looked up to someone? Well, I looked up to my dad. He was just a great man, great example. And I remember thinking, when I grow up, I want to be just like my dad. And then many, many years later, I find myself in a jail cell, strung out on drugs, lost everything, hurt people. Friends have turned their back on me. I've done terrible things. I've made bad choices. I'm sitting in a jail cell. I don't know when I'm going to get out. And that thought came back into my mind. When I grow up, I want to be just like my dad. And so what happened? What happens to us when we have these goals and these dreams and these desires? And then one day we find ourselves with chains around our hands, chains around our ankles, and we feel like we are stuck. And we think, how did we get here? I mean, I had this great example and I had these great tools and gifts, and I was going to do amazing things, right? And I wanted to be like my dad. And there I am, literally physically chained, but mentally chained as well, right? How many of you have ever felt like you are just chained and limited by something and you feel like there's got to be more in life? There's got to be more that I should be doing. There's got to be more than this. It could just be a job or a situation. It doesn't have to be drug addiction or incarceration. There's other kinds of bondage. Can I get an amen, right? There's other
Amen.
kinds of
Amen,
things.
brother. Amen. I'm with you.
Yeah.
Yes. Um,
There's other chains. And so the chains of limitation is what I felt like was stopping me. And it wasn't until I freed my mind, because it's a mindset, I was able to free my mind and separate myself and break free from those chains that were holding me back for many, many years. And now, as I said, my life has made a drastic turn for the better.
that's awesome that you've been able to turn around. Like, I see incredible stories sometimes, and the people that are moved, with such terrible things that happen in their lives, but to be able to turn things around and have these incredible lives, I actually really admire that in people like you. So I appreciate that you've shared this with all of us here on whatever platform we're going to be using.
Right.
Whether it's going to be YouTube or a podcast. I think, were you the one that was sharing podcasts with me? Yes, yes.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, I don't have a podcast. I don't know what I'm doing, but you know what? You learn by doing sometimes, right?
Right.
Okay. So let me see here. So I'm going to skip over some of these questions that I've kind of, I just kind of went, these are the questions I have, and put them out for you, for some of the people in the group, so they would know, like, this is kind of where I'm headed. But I mean, you've covered some of these already, and I'm just going to kind of move on to um, something a little bit different. So, um, what is one thing that is really interesting about you, and most people wouldn't really know, like, what's that one thing? It's like, if you say to people, they're like, wow, that's kind of like, that's interesting, I wouldn't have thought that about you, or whatever. Like, I love telling people I'm an electrician. Like, they look at me and do a double take and go, really? Like, that's interesting, how did you end up becoming an electrician, or whatever. So, or it can be anything. It can be a hobby, or you can make something up if you don't have anything.
Yeah. Well, I don't know how interesting it is, but I kind of already alluded to it. When I tell people my past, it normally blows their mind because they see me today. Even my wife, who has only known me for 12 years now, she, all of this I just talked about was 15 years ago. And so she can't even fathom a Ben back then compared to now. So it really usually blows people's mind when I tell them what I used to be in my lifestyle. They found that kind of interesting because they would have never thought that. I would say that's probably the most shocking. The most interesting maybe is that I'm a very quiet person. If you met me in an event or something, I'm not the one that's walking around socially talking to people. I'm the one that you see maybe in the corner leaning against the wall, sipping a drink or something, and if you come up, I'll talk to you. So for the people to find out that I feel more passionate about public speaking than anything else, that would probably be pretty interesting to them. If they saw me in a normal environment, they wouldn't imagine that. So
That is exactly what I thought. I thought, all the stuff you're telling me about yourself, I would think if somebody was, in a room with you, be like, yeah, I'm going to be I'm going on stages. I'm going to be doing public speaking with Les Brown. Like, to me, that would be like, wow, very
Yeah.
interesting. Okay, let me see. What do I have here? I have this one question because I'm the complete opposite. I am like, I go talk to people. I want to be with people. I want to do like whatever fun stuff. So I have this in here as a fun question. So
Uh-huh.
if you had one wish, what would it be?
Hmm. If I had one wish, it would probably be to go back in time and tell the younger Ben what he should be doing.
I think that's a good wish because I think a lot of us
Yeah.
do that. And like my husband and I had a conversation one time, and I said I would probably just go back and say to younger self, make sure you say yes earlier when he wants to go out on a date, because we knew each other when I was 16, but we didn't start a relationship till I was like 22-ish, 21, 22, somewhere in around there. I think
Mm.
22. Oh yeah. I hope he doesn't watch this. It was my 22nd birthday. We went on our first date.
Wow.
Anyways,
Where did y'all go?
well, back in those days, we used to go to a place called Caroline's and another place called Mickey's. And, I ended up, you know, I wanted to go out for my birthday and my car was broke down. It's kind of a funny story. And he says, you just want to ride. But the truth was, and this is what I told him, I said, if all I wanted was a ride, I would have called this other guy because he was into me and I knew it wouldn't have been an issue, but I wanted to go with him. All
That's funny.
right, let's see. What do we have here for questions? Your favorite quote, one that's from somebody else.
Mm. So that's a very hard question for me because I love quotes. Every week I get the opportunity to stand up and give a quote and a little motivational talk at the real estate office. So I'm a big quote guy, but Jim Rohn, which we do share this passion, is probably one of my favorites. He really got me going in a personal development type direction. So probably I have two that I really love for him. Can I give you two?
Sure, sure.
Okay. So my two favorite ones from him are never wish life were easier, wish you were better.
Yes, that's an
You've heard that
incredible
one.
quote. It's
Yes.
it really turned my life around too in a way because I was one of those people like, oh, why does everything have to be so darn hard? And then when I heard him say that, it just went, well, it's hard for a reason.
Yeah.
And it really changed like my perspective on things. All right, number
Mhm.
two, what's the second one?
So it's kind of goes along with that one, but it's work harder on yourself than you do on your job.
Yes, that is also a good one.
Yes. Yep.
So my quote with Jim Rohn that I personally love is, the same wind blows on us all. It's just a matter of how we set our sails. And that I
Yes.
have wrote that, like, I think my son, when he was 12, I wrote that in his birthday card because I could see the path he was going on. And I thought he needs to see he has choices. Like, we're all born and then we all have choices in life to take us in whatever direction we want to choose what we, anyways. So
Can I
I
work?
thank
Can
you.
I that's one of my favorite quotes too. Can I work with that one?
I sure can.
Let's do a Les Brown type thing. I'm gonna take that quote
Uh-oh.
and work with it. So here we go. This is just off the cuff, but I remember when I was younger, we used to go sailing every weekend. And when you go sailing, if you've never been sailing before, there's sails on the sailboat that are tied to a winch, and you have to tighten and loosen these sails according to the direction of the wind. How many of you know how important it is to go in the right direction, to be heading in the right direction?
You need
And
that wind
I love
hitting
this
the
quote.
sail.
Yes, I love the quote by Jim Rohn that says it's you can say the quote better than me. The quote that Christy just said about setting the sail makes a huge difference in the direction you go. If you don't set the sails right in your life, you'll find yourself going in the wrong direction. And if you could take a sail on a sailboat and flip it around, you actually would go backwards. It just shows you how important it is to set the sail. And I remember one particular time we were out sailing in the middle of the Chesapeake Bay, couldn't see any land anywhere around us, and we are heading up north towards the New York, New Jersey, something like that. And a huge storm came upon us. I mean, this was a really, really bad storm that you do not want to be out in, even in a sailboat like we were. And so we're just probably 10, 15 foot swells, and we're just getting hammered, in the sailboat. And I'm seasick. I'm actually downstairs getting sick because the conditions were so bad. My dad is at the back of the boat on the wheel, and my mom is sitting there, supposed to be controlling the set of the sails because we're trying to get through the storm as fast as we can. She completely freezes up. I mean, white knuckle, no expression, just she's out. She's completely frozen, and we're getting hammered and banged so hard that the stuff that's tied down some of our cargo and sails and gas cans and whatnot are starting to become loose, and they're starting to kind of bounce around. So my dad yells down for me and says, Ben, I need you to go up front and secure, these different things. And so when I'm done doing what I'm doing downstairs, I come up to the boat with nothing but a life jacket, no harness, nothing securing me to the boat, just my two hands and a life jacket. And I have to shimmy my way crawling up this boat that's just getting banged and hold on an arm around something to secure these things down. And when I think back to it, I think, wow, like my mom could not even move. And yet somehow I trusted enough in my dad and my father to move forward and go do what needed to be done. Had we not secured those things, had we not done what we needed to do, had we have just gotten stuck or got frozen, we that storm could have taken us, right? But we had to set the sail correctly. We had to secure everything in our little vessel so that we could make it through the storm. Because the whole point of a storm is to get through it, not to stay in it, right? Storms are only bad if you stay in it. If you stop moving forward, if you get stuck and you get frozen, then the storm will just take over your whole life. And you could spend months, years, decades in a storm of life. But if you just batten down the hatches, if you just hold on and secure what you got to hold on, and if you can set the sail the right way, you can get through the storm and grow through it. Not only go through it, but grow through it as well. You got to
Awesome.
set the sail.
Awesome. I love that story. That's a great story. So I just wrote down two quotes. You can say now, Ben has these quotes because these are two things that you said. I went, whoa, this is good. This is really good. Okay. Are you ready?
Yeah, tell me. I need to write them down. So I don't know what I said.
You're going to need them. Okay. All right. So
Okay.
the first one, I thought, you know what? It just gives me this image like you're trying to go forward in life. And I thought, when you said this, I thought, yes, you do not want to do this. So the quote is, don't set your sails backwards because you're really not going to go anywhere, right? I love
Right.
that. That's incredible. Like you've got gold in you. Okay.
I'll take it. Whatever you're saying.
All right, number two. You ready for this one?
Uh-huh.
So, as you spoke earlier about your story, about your message, and then you talked about this storm, it really tied everything together. And I went, because people sometimes don't realize when they're in that storm, they're going to come out the other side. They just don't see it at the time. So this quote really hit that, and I love this. It is, storms are only bad if you stay in it.
That's good.
And you said it, Ben. So first time
Wow.
being said right here, recorded, nobody can steal your quote now, is today. So you heard it from Ben, and it's pronounced Swicegood.
Swice good. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was like, That's a unique last name. I never heard it before. So
Mm.
anyways, I really thank you and I appreciate you being on here. I'm trying to be respectful of your time. Do you have time for one more question? Let me see if I have anything else. Um,
Sure.
okay, let me just check. I'm checking. You know what? Um, I think I pretty much asked all the questions, but here's something that kind of we talked about already that you want to be a speaker and you want to put this message out here. But in my mind, I have this question I'm going to ask you is what, like, what is I don't even know how to put it into a question. Like, what is pushing you so much to want to go on a stage, being an introvert and telling me the things you're telling me, because a lot of people would just, okay, that's behind me. I'm going to hide behind that. I don't want people to know that. So what is pushing you so much that you want to actually get up on a stage in front of, well, I don't know what your vision is. You can tell me your vision, hundreds, thousands, millions, I don't know.
All of that.
So let's cover that. What's
Yeah.
pushing you and what's your vision then? Two questions in one.
Yeah. Great questions. I would say it's my backstory, obviously, what I went through that I feel like if I don't share that message, and it's a message of hope at the end of the day, if I don't share the message of hope and what God did in my life, then it was all for nothing, and then I feel like I wasted those years. A lot of people could look at my drug addiction and my history and how many years I spent in that and think that was a waste. Or you could look at it differently and think it was for a purpose. But if I don't share it, then it was all for a waste. But out of that birthed a pain and a passion to help other people that are stuck. And it doesn't, like I said, it doesn't have to be drug addiction because that's a very small part of it. It could be any addiction, affliction, or just limiting belief, false belief, anything you grew up with. And somebody told you you'd never amount to anything, or you'd never be good enough, or you're always going to be this way, or I'm just this, I'm just a stay at home mom, or I'm just a restaurant worker, or I'm just a waiter, I'm nobody. You are somebody. We're all somebody. God doesn't create nobodies, right? He creates somebodies. So that's what birthed this passion in me. But the other part is I don't remember who I heard it from, who said, going on stage is the most fulfilling thing an introvert can do because we're not the type that gets a lot of recognition. We're not the type that mingles around and is known as like the influencer in the crowd. That's the dominant personality, that's the lively, like my dad was, the life of the party. Our only way that we get recognition, the only way that we get that feeling is to be on stage presenting. It's a great way for us to almost take on like a different personality because we're on stage and we have to just kind of go for it. And once you cross over, like I wasn't good at doing this and I'm still not saying I'm good at it, but I was so shy and nervous, and a pastor kind of pushed me to start ministering and giving a little teaching. And I used to stand behind the little music stand with my little notes, and I did not move. And I mean, I'm telling you, I did not take one step left or right. I didn't raise my arms, nothing. And I probably didn't even look up. And now today, I'm a lot more fluent. I move around when I talk and speak and share, and I look at people and I engage with people because there's nothing more powerful in my mind than the words we can speak to somebody. I mean, we know that in the tongue, there's life and death in the tongue. You can literally change someone's life by just opening your mouth. That's powerful.
Very
And I'm
powerful.
really passionate about it.
Very, very powerful. Actually, I'm going to take a second here before you answer the vision part to remove my glasses because I have tears of joy for you right now. I mean, that has been so that is so powerful what you said and you know you hit home actually with me because 2 years ago I started this journey of doing some changes in my life and I did this course and here's my quote that I said when I did this. I got a hair in my mouth. So my quote is not I got a hair in my mouth. Sorry. Okay, my quote was breakthrough is breakdown is breakthrough, because I was doing this course and I literally was doing a Facebook live video in the group explaining, some of the things that we were talking about in this group. And I broke down crying, and I didn't realize one of the things that I was doing was pushing my negative thoughts aside. And I realized through this group, we have to deal with these negative thoughts. They say push the negative thought aside and replace it with a positive thought, which is great. But at some point, those negative thoughts, we actually have to deal with, why do I think that? And at that point in time, like, I was 50 and I realized that I had to still deal with these thoughts. And the thoughts were what you touched on. I didn't think I was good enough. I thought I was a nobody. I thought, who would want to listen to me? And, I started taking steps, and I am a big believer in God, but I started taking these steps because I felt God said, you need to do this, take this course that we were doing, and then, I have always believed God is putting me in the direction I need to go, whether I know it or not. And he's that wind behind my sail, pushing me whether I know it or not at the time. It's like meeting you, being in this group. I mean, I was just having a conversation with my friend Lynn Serrano this morning, and we were talking about this very similar concept, because she was also in that group and she was supposed to be my accountability partner. And she sends me a message, because I'm thinking in my head, like, this lady's never here. Like, she's not keeping me accountable to do the things I need to do, but I was doing them anyways. And so she sends me a message. She says something along the lines, I know I flaked out on you, but I have a lot of stuff on the go. And man, we were talking this morning about where she's at now, where I'm at now. But she's got this stuff going on, and I'm like, I remember her telling me about her visions, and I'm thinking at the time going, oh, yeah, okay, like, you're like, whatever, I'm thinking she's flaky, like, whatever. And but today she's making those visions come true. So really cool, and I appreciate that. Okay, so now your vision, since we're on vision.
My vision, wow. It's probably unexplainable. For a long time, since I was younger, I always had this vision of impacting and changing and doing something great, for whatever that's worth, dreams and different desires. And so for years, I've had this burning vision and passion of me ministering or speaking, like I said, through communication to uplift and to change people's belief system. Because really, at the end of the day, the battle, as we know, is in our mind. If you conquer this obstacle, the rest is easy. We don't war against flesh and blood. We war against principalities and darkness and things. And it's a spiritual battle that we're going through. So if you can tap into that and get through that spiritual part, you can move forward in directions you never thought. So my vision would be to help as many people as I can move forward in life, get unstuck, break the chains of limitation, and experience success in whatever that means to you.
Awesome. Well, I really appreciate you taking the time today to do this off the cuff with Christine interview. Like, this has been so much actually fun for me. I was a bit nervous because things weren't kind of working out at first, but this has been really, really incredible. And I look forward to seeing you on those stages, Ben, because you do have a powerful message and you can do it. Thank you so much. And we're going to sign off on Facebook. Give me 1 second. Oh, I forgot to ask questions. Oh, well, I'm already done. So there, I'm going to stop the recording here. Okay, stop.